450 years ago, navigators discovered a new land to the west of the British Isles in Europe. In 1497, one of them, John Cabot, a well-known sea captain of Bristol, England, sailed westward to America. Again, in 1498, he returned to the new land, this time seeking a shortcut across it to the spices and riches of the Orient. While John Cabot did not find the Northwest Passage to the Orient, the men of Bristol still believed in it. Among the Bristol navigators who held firmly to their faith in the elusive passage was Sebastian Cabot, son of John. In 1508, he sailed westward in the search. He too failed. Sebastian Cabot, persisting in his belief in a shortcut to the East Indies, prepared his ships once more for the long journey, and in 1553 sent them out from Bristol. The search was futile. Many men since then have crossed the ocean westward, penetrating the frozen wastes of the Arctic. Cartier, Frobisher, Davis, Drake, Hudson, Baffin, Fox, James, Parry, Franklin, and other great explorers. McClure and Amundsen, much later, proved that such a passage might really exist. But a route across North America for deep draft ships remained to be found. In recent years, the Arctic areas have become increasingly important. The Navy's military sea transportation service supply ships, moving into the area during the short summers, have brought men and supplies necessary for defensive purposes. Here, where nothing exists except what men bring in, the United States and Canada have built the Dew Line, a distant early warning line of radar installations stretching across the frozen top of North America as a defense against possible enemy attack. The MSTS ships rounding Point Barrow in the west and continuing eastward have not been able to move across certain uncharted areas which might provide an escape route eastward into the Atlantic. In recent years, Coast Guard cutters with the Navy's hydrographic survey groups have charted eastward to Shepherd Bay. Arctic ice along this route near Dew Line installations prevents entry by supply ships from the west, except for a short time in summer. An eastern escape route would provide more time for the ships to unload and depart.
During the summer of 1957, Coast Guard cutters will attempt to extend the survey of uncharted waters adjacent to the Dew Line stations. Here in Miami, Florida, one Coast Guard cutter, the Bramble, is being prepared with protective sheathing for such service in Arctic ice fields. A new type of propeller is also being installed, designed for operations in heavy ice. The Bramble, with two other Coast Guard cutters, the Spar and the Storis, will comprise the Hydrographic Survey Unit. I am a member of the Bramble's crew. We leave tomorrow. Meanwhile, there is liberty ashore for the men. It is not likely that the Arctic will provide us with anything like this. We're ready to depart from Miami on May 26, 1957. The Spar is to meet us at the Panama Canal. The Bramble leaves her home port and her families. If our voyage is successful, we will circumnavigate the North American continent and return here. And if we find the charting task is impossible because of ice fields or other causes, but that's something we'll learn when we reach the Arctic. When a ship goes to sea, a man leaves many things behind, but not his memories, the things he hopes to find upon his return. The ship's drills take up the slack, tighten the discipline, place everything and everyone in ship-shape condition. The trip down from Miami has been routine. We're approaching the Panama Canal. Electric mules are used to ease us through the locks. No one hurries here in the tropics. We take our turn with other ships going through. In Gatun Lake, we pause for a washdown on deck, for this is fresh water. We get ashore for a few hours of liberty in Balboa Canal Zone. The Coast Guard cutter Spar joins us here. Spar's home port is Bristol, Rhode Island, from which she's come directly to the Canal Zone. Together, we'll proceed up the west coast to Seattle. Into the blue water of the Pacific now, the Spar leading the way northward. From Panama, we log 1,600 miles before we make our first port, Acapulco, Mexico. Approached from the sea, Acapulco is a paradise of white beaches below the houses and hotels that cling to its rocky cliffs and hills. We're hoping for a day ashore in this port. Some get it. A Liberty party can usually dream up a lot of things to do ashore, particularly in a port like this. Ships have a habit of returning to the sea, and the Bramble is no exception. One of the crew has developed what may be appendicitis, always an emergency at sea. The captain has radioed for a Coast Guard plane from San Diego. He's taking no chances with our shipmate's condition. Our small boat puts out with the patient to meet the big plane where it rests on the surface nearby. Within a few hours, he'll be in the hospital in San Diego. With luck, he may be able to join us in Seattle. That bad appendix case didn't leave us any too soon. That's a mighty long stretch of ocean from Acapulco to Seattle. Seattle, and we find some of the MSTS ships, a part of the 96-ship force that will constitute the 1957 resupply operation in the Arctic. The Coast Guard cutter Storis awaits us. She will serve as the flag for our 3 ships. She has been on a similar survey before. The Spar and my ship, the Bramble, are alongside the dock for additional loading. Special equipment plus additional supplies must be loaded, or Seattle will be our last port of call. The Navy icebreaker Burton Island is also here as part of the main operational force. She's taken the MSTS ships into the Duline area in previous years. Equipment of the Navy's Hydrographic Survey Group comes aboard as we complete our loading. As in previous years, Coast Guard cutters will work with the Navy's Hydrographic Survey Group in sounding, charting, and establishing navigational aids along the route to be surveyed. Additional surveys will be conducted where previous work has been done, and an attempt will be made to enter the uncharted areas to survey them. The addition of an emergency heater to our cargo is a reminder that we may find the going a bit tough and may have to stay in the ice for a while. No one can predict the whims of an ice pack. We depart Seattle on July 1st, 1957. Our ships start moving out for the long journey northward. The Navy icebreaker Burton Island has gone ahead to rendezvous with us where the first ice appears. Our flagship, the Storis, moves out, and we're on our way northward.